I woke up with that birthday excitement you feel as a kid, except I was turning 35. For months, I had been planning this fishing trip, my gift to myself after working 60-hour weeks. The cabin was booked, my gear was packed, and I could almost feel the fishing rod in my hands. But as I grabbed my bags, Jessica approached with an unusual coldness in her eyes. She shoved a paper into my hands with a smirk that made my stomach drop. It was a list, a long list of chores. In that moment, I knew my birthday was about to become something I never expected. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button. What happened next changed everything about how I view relationships. Our love story began 8 years ago, when Jessica and I met in college. We were young, ambitious, and completely in love. After graduation, we got married in a small ceremony, surrounded by our closest friends and family. The early years of our marriage were blissful, filled with shared dreams and mutual support. We bought our first home, a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood, and settled into a comfortable routine. Everything changed 6 months ago when Jessica's sister Amanda moved in with us. She claimed her marriage had ended in a bitter divorce, and she needed a temporary place to stay until she got back on her feet. I welcomed her with open arms, wanting to support my wife's family during their difficult time. What was supposed to be a temporary arrangement gradually shifted the dynamics of our household. Amanda was always whispering with Jessica, their conversations abruptly ending whenever I entered the room. They started going out more frequently, leaving me alone most evenings. When I questioned Jessica about their outings, she would dismiss my concerns with vague explanations about helping Amanda recover from her divorce. Despite these changes, I remained focused on my work and our future. I had been putting in extra hours at the architectural firm where I worked, taking on additional projects to earn enough money for my birthday fishing trip. This trip meant everything to me, a rare opportunity to disconnect and recharge in nature. I had been talking about it for months, carefully planning every detail and counting down the days. The morning of my birthday started with disappointment. I woke up early expecting at least a birthday kiss or greeting from Jessica, but the space beside me was empty and cold. I found her in the kitchen, engrossed in her phone, barely acknowledging my presence. "Good morning," I said cheerfully, hoping to cut through the tension. "Beautiful day for a fishing trip." Jessica glanced up briefly before returning to her screen. Yeah. No birthday wishes, no special breakfast, not even a card. I made my own coffee and toast, trying to maintain my excitement for the trip. After breakfast, I went upstairs to grab my luggage and fishing gear. Everything was packed and ready to go. The lodge was a 4-hour drive, and I wanted to get there before sunset. As I was heading toward the door, luggage in hand and heart full of anticipation, Jessica appeared from the kitchen with Amanda trailing behind her. The look on their faces made me pause. "Where do you think you are going?" Jessica asked, her voice unusually sharp. "To my fishing trip," I replied, confused by her question. "The one I have been planning for months." That was when Jessica thrust the list into my hands with a smirk that sent chills down my spine. I glanced down at the paper, stunned by what I saw. The list contained every possible home repair and cleaning task imaginable, from fixing the leaky bathroom faucet to repainting the guest room, cleaning out the gutters, mowing the lawn, and reorganizing the garage. Tasks that would take days, if not weeks, to complete. "What is this?" I asked, genuinely baffled. "Things that need to be done around here," Jessica replied coldly, "since you will have so much free time this weekend." I looked up from the list to see both Jessica and Amanda with packed suitcases of their own. The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. "You are taking my fishing trip?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "This trip is for us, not for you," Amanda interjected with a dismissive wave. "Stay home and work." "But I have been planning this for months," I protested, still not fully comprehending what was happening. "I paid for everything. The cabin, the boat rental, everything. And now we will enjoy it," Jessica said, picking up her suitcase. "Amanda needs this getaway after everything she has been through. You will be fine here. The house needs attention anyway." Before I could respond, they brushed past me and headed out the door. Through the window, I watched them load their bags into Amanda's car, laughing as if they had just pulled off the greatest prank. In a matter of minutes, they were gone, leaving me standing alone in our living room holding a list of chores and the shattered remains of my birthday plans. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The confusion and hurt began to simmer into a feeling I rarely experienced, a deep, burning sense of betrayal that would only intensify as the day unfolded. Left with nothing but a house full of chores, I reluctantly started working on the leaky faucet in our bathroom. My mind raced with questions as I tightened the pipes under the sink. How long had Jessica been planning this? Was this some kind of punishment for something I was unaware of? The uncertainty gnawed at me, making it difficult to concentrate on the task at hand. While searching for a wrench in Jessica's desk drawer, I stumbled upon a stack of credit card statements. Curiosity got the better of me, and I began to flip through them. What I found made my blood run cold. Expensive restaurant charges, clothing purchases from high-end boutiques and hotel stays in nearby cities, all on dates when Jessica claimed to be helping Amanda with divorce proceedings or going to therapy sessions. Digging deeper, I discovered a bank statement showing that Jessica had withdrawn $5,000 from our joint savings account just 3 days ago. Money we had been saving for a down payment on a new house. My hands trembled as I processed this information. This was not a spontaneous decision to take over my birthday trip. This was calculated. I needed perspective, someone to talk to before my thoughts spiraled further. I called Michael, my best friend since high school, hoping he could offer some clarity. "Douglas, man, I have been meaning to call you Michael," said his voice hesitant. "There is something you should know." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" I saw Jessica and Amanda at Riverside Grill last week, but they were not alone. They were with 2 guys I did not recognize, and they seemed very, very friendly. The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. Michael went on to describe how intimate the dinner appeared with Jessica, and one of the men holding hands across the table, completely disregarding the possibility of being seen by someone who knew us. "I did not know how to tell you," Michael continued, "but with everything going on, you deserve to know the truth. Have you checked your shared computer recently?" I had not. After ending the call with Michael, I went straight to our home office and powered up the desktop computer we both used. Jessica had always been careless with her passwords, often staying logged into her accounts. Sure enough, her email was accessible. What I discovered next turned my world upside down. There were dozens of emails between Jessica, Amanda, and 2 men named Brian and James. The correspondence revealed plans to use my birthday weekend as cover for a romantic getaway with these men at a different location not far from the fishing lodge I had booked. Even more shocking was the discovery that Amanda was not actually divorced. According to the emails, she had simply abandoned her husband, fabricating the divorce story to gain sympathy and a place to stay while she pursued other relationships. But the most devastating revelation came in the form of an email draft Jessica had saved but not yet sent to Amanda. In it, she detailed her plan to gradually drain our accounts before leaving me using Amanda's expertise as a paralegal to navigate the legal aspects of divorce in her favor. My hands shook as I forwarded these emails to my personal account, ensuring I had copies of everything. The pain was becoming unbearable, morphing into a mixture of anger and resolve. How could I have been so blind? The signs had been there, small inconsistencies in her stories, unexplained absences, the sudden emotional distance. I called the fishing lodge to confirm my suspicions. As expected, the reservation was still under my name, but Jessica had called yesterday to inform them that she and her sister would be using the cabin, instead claiming I was unable to make it due to a work emergency. With my heart pounding in my chest, I called Jessica. She answered on the 4th ring, the sound of laughter and music in the background. "How are the chores coming along?" she asked, not even attempting to hide the mockery in her voice. "Jessica, we need to talk about the money you took from our savings," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. The line went silent for a moment before she responded, her tone suddenly defensive. "I do not know what you are talking about. You are always so paranoid, Douglas. This is exactly why I needed a break from you." "A break with Brian?" I asked, the name dropping between us like a bomb. "You have been going through my things," she snapped, anger replacing her previous nonchalance. "That is a complete invasion of privacy. Like stealing my birthday trip and emptying our savings account is not an invasion of my trust," I countered. "I do not have to explain myself to you," Jessica said coldly. "We will discuss this when I get back. Or not. I have not decided yet." The call ended abruptly, leaving me in a silence that seemed to echo through our empty house. But the conversation had confirmed what I already knew. Jessica had no remorse, no explanation, no intention of salvaging what we had built together over 8 years. As darkness fell outside, my emotional turmoil reached new heights. Every memory, every moment we had shared now came into question. Had anything in our marriage been real, the woman who had vowed to stand by me through better or worse was now deliberately causing the worst pain I had ever experienced, and on my birthday no less. Sleep eluded me that night as I continued my investigation, uncovering more lies and deceptions that had been hiding in plain sight all along. By morning the hurt had crystallized into determination, a silent resolve to take back control of my life from those who had so callously disregarded it. The next morning, fueled by determination rather than rest, I began a more thorough investigation. In our home office, behind a stack of old tax returns, I found a folder containing documents I had never seen before. Inside was evidence of a hidden bank account in Jessica's name statements, showing regular transfers from our joint savings over the past 4 months, accumulating to nearly $20,000, our entire emergency fund. Even more alarming was a partially completed deed transfer form attempting to remove my name from our house title, with Amanda's paralegal notary stamp ready for use. The betrayal went beyond infidelity. This was a calculated attempt to strip me of everything. The final blow came when I discovered a hidden folder on our shared cloud storage. It contained dozens of photos of Jessica, with a man I now recognized from social media as Brian. The photos dated back 6 months, coinciding exactly with Amanda's arrival. Some were taken in our home in our bed while I was working late to save money for the very trip they had stolen. With hands trembling from a mixture of shock and rage, I called Thomas, a college friend who had become a successful attorney. I explained the situation as calmly as possible, forwarding him copies of everything I had discovered. "Douglas, this is serious," Thomas said after reviewing the evidence. "They were setting you up for financial ruin, but you caught it in time, and that gives us options." Over the next hour, Thomas outlined my legal rights and the immediate steps I needed to take to protect myself. His advice was clear and actionable, giving me a framework to regain control of my life. "Document everything in the house today," Thomas instructed. "Take photos, make inventory lists, secure any valuables or sentimental items. Then, meet me at my office tomorrow morning to begin the formal process." Following his advice, I spent the afternoon meticulously photographing every room, documenting our possessions, and collecting all important financial records. I moved my personal valuables, family heirlooms, and irreplaceable items to Michael's garage for safekeeping. Next, I visited our bank where I spoke with the manager about the unauthorized withdrawals. Given the circumstances and the evidence I presented, they helped me secure the remaining funds and establish new accounts in my name only. The manager, visibly concerned by the situation, expedited the process and added additional security measures to prevent any further unauthorized access. Returning home, I installed small, discreet security cameras in the main living areas, ensuring I would have evidence of anything that happened in my absence. It felt strange taking these precautions in my own home, but Thomas had emphasized the importance of protecting myself from potential retaliation once Jessica realized her plans had been discovered. By evening, I had compiled a comprehensive file of evidence, including the email exchanges, financial documents, photos, and property papers. The hurt that had consumed me was transforming into a clear-headed determination to take back my life. Sitting at my desk, I composed a carefully worded email to Jessica. I attached key pieces of evidence, each labeled and time-stamped, including screenshots of her conversations with Brian, photos of them together, and bank statements showing the unauthorized withdrawals. The final attachment was a photo of me sitting in Thomas's office with divorce papers clearly visible on the desk. The email was brief but powerful. Jessica, I know everything. The affairs, the financial theft, the attempt to take my home. I have secured all assets and consulted an attorney. I have documented everything. This email has been set with a read receipt. You will be contacted by my lawyer with next steps. Douglas. I scheduled the email to send at 8 p.m., knowing they would likely be at dinner. The notification would arrive just as they were enjoying the evening paid for with my money in the cabin I had booked for my birthday. As I pressed send, a strange sense of calm washed over me. For the first time since discovering their betrayal, I felt in control. I was no longer the unsuspecting husband, the victim of their scheme. I had become the architect of my own liberation. With the email sent, I refused to sit around waiting for the fallout. This was still my birthday weekend, and I was determined to reclaim it from those who had tried to ruin it. I called a different fishing lodge, located about 2 hours in the opposite direction from where Jessica and Amanda had gone, and booked their last available cabin for the weekend. Next, I contacted a locksmith and arranged for all the locks in our house to be changed on Monday morning. I packed a bag with fresh clothes and my fishing gear, loaded it into my car, and left a note on the door for the locksmith with specific instructions. The final call I made before leaving was to Thomas, confirming our Monday afternoon appointment to file the divorce papers. He assured me everything was prepared and expressed approval for my decision to get away for the weekend. "This is the right move," Douglas Thomas said. "Take this time to clear your head and prepare for what is coming. Monday, we begin the process of legally ending this chapter of your life." As I drove toward the fishing lodge, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The countryside scenery gradually replaced the urban landscape, and with each mile my breathing became easier. By the time I arrived at the rustic cabin nestled beside a serene lake, my mind had shifted from pain to possibilities. The cabin owner, an older man named Frank, greeted me with a warmth I had not experienced in months. When he learned I was celebrating my birthday alone, he insisted on sharing a bottle of whiskey and stories from his 40 years of running the lodge. "Relationships are like fishing, son," Frank said, pouring a generous measure into my glass. "Sometimes you catch a beautiful fish that turns out to be nothing but bones and poison. The trick is knowing when to cut the line before it pulls you under." That night, sitting by the lake under a canopy of stars, I allowed myself to fully process everything that had happened. The anger and hurt remained, but they no longer consumed me. Instead, I focused on the future, on rebuilding my life without the toxicity that had infiltrated it. The next morning I rose with the sun and spent the day on the lake. The repetitive motion of casting the line, the peaceful silence interrupted only by the occasional splash of fish, had a therapeutic effect. By late afternoon I had caught an impressive bass, nearly 20 inches long, a personal best. Frank took a photo of me holding the fish with the lake stretching behind me, and a genuine smile on my face for the first time in days. As an afterthought, I asked him to take another photo this time, with me holding both the fish and the folder containing copies of the divorce papers Thomas had prepared. Back in the cabin, I looked at the photos and made a decision. I selected the second image and sent it to Jessica with a simple message: "Found something better than betrayal. Returning home Monday to my newly secured house. Your belongings will be packed and waiting on the porch. Do not attempt to enter." The read receipt came almost instantly, followed by a flurry of increasingly frantic text messages and calls which I calmly ignored. According to the lodge's security camera footage that Frank showed me, Jessica and Amanda had been waiting there hoping to intercept me during the trip. When Monday morning arrived, I returned home feeling centered and resolved. As expected, Jessica's car was parked in our driveway, and she and Amanda were sitting on the porch steps surrounded by multiple suitcases, looking exhausted and disheveled. "You changed the locks," Jessica screamed as I approached. "You cannot do that." "This is my house too." "Was your house?" I corrected calmly. Noticing the divorce papers I had arranged to be delivered were sitting unopened beside her. "Until you attempted to remove my name from the deed, emptied our accounts, and violated every aspect of our marriage vows." Amanda stepped forward, her legal training emerging in her tone. "This is illegal eviction. We can sue you for this." I smiled, unfazed by her threats. "Amanda? Or should I call you Miss Johnson? Since you are not actually divorced, rather just abandoned your husband without legal proceedings, I do not think you want to involve the courts, especially given your role in attempting to defraud me." The color drained from her face as I continued. "Yes, I know everything. Your paralegal license could be in jeopardy if certain ethics boards were to learn of your involvement in this scheme." Jessica's approach changed instantly, her anger melting into the manipulative sweetness I had once found endearing. "Douglas, baby, this is all a big misunderstanding. We can work this out." "I made a mistake, I see that now." "The mistake was mine," I replied, walking past them to unlock the door. "For not seeing who you really were sooner. Your personal belongings are packed inside. You have 30 minutes to collect them and leave. Anything remaining will be donated to charity." "And where am I supposed to go?" Jessica demanded, her sweet facade cracking. "That is no longer my concern," I answered honestly. "Perhaps Brian can help you, though I doubt he will be interested now that the money has stopped flowing." The look of shock on their faces confirmed what I had suspected. Their romantic partners had been attracted to the lavish lifestyle, funded by my hard work and savings, not to Jessica and Amanda themselves. Within the allotted time, they had cleared out their personal items and left Jessica making one last tearful attempt at reconciliation that fell on deaf ears. As their car disappeared down the street, I walked through our once shared home, now feeling like mine alone for the first time. The divorce proceedings moved quickly thanks to the overwhelming evidence I had gathered. Jessica, realizing her position was indefensible, agreed to a settlement that required her to repay the money she had taken. Amanda, facing potential legal and professional consequences, moved back to her actual husband, with her tail between her legs, their grand schemes collapsing like a house of cards. 1 year later, I stood on the shores of the same lake where I had caught that symbolic fish, marking a complete circle in my journey of healing. The small cabin I had purchased nearby had become my weekend sanctuary, a place of peace after the turbulence of divorce and rebuilding. The path to recovery had not been easy. There were nights when loneliness felt crushing, when memories of 8 years together would ambush me in quiet moments. But I had learned to sit with these feelings rather than run from them, understanding they were necessary steps in my healing process. My support network had been crucial during this time. Michael and his wife had included me in family dinners and holiday celebrations. Colleagues had become genuine friends, offering companionship without prying questions. Even Frank, the fishing lodge owner, had become a mentor of sorts, sharing wisdom earned through his own life experiences. I had also learned important lessons about the warning signs I had missed in my marriage with Jessica. The gradual withdrawal of affection, the secretive conversations, the constant need for more. Despite having enough, these were all signals I had chosen to ignore, out of love and trust. Now I understood that real love does not require such compromises of dignity and self-respect. My career had flourished, as I channeled my energy into creative architectural designs, even winning a regional award for a community center project. The financial setback caused by Jessica's theft had been overcome through careful planning and hard work. I was standing on solid ground again, stronger for having been tested. As for Jessica, I had heard through mutual acquaintances that she was struggling. The relationship with Brian had ended predictably once the money ran out. She had moved to another city, starting over with the lessons I hoped she had learned from the consequences of her actions. Despite everything, I wished her clarity and growth rather than continued hardship. Standing there with fishing rod in hand, I reflected on how my life had changed since that fateful birthday. I had lost a wife, but gained an authentic relationship with myself. I had been betrayed, but learned the value of genuine loyalty through those who stood by me. I had been nearly broken, but discovered a resilience I never knew I possessed. That evening, as the sun set over the lake, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, I celebrated my birthday with a small gathering of true friends at my cabin. There was laughter, good food, fishing stories, and a sense of family that had nothing to do with legal ties and everything to do with chosen connections. The greatest gift I received that day was the understanding that sometimes the universe takes away what we think we want to make room for what we truly need. The gift of starting over, of second chances, is not given to everyone, and I was determined to honor it by living authentically from that point forward. Trust, I learned, is not something to be given blindly, but earned continuously. Relationships require vigilance and nurturing honesty and respect. Real partnership enhances your life rather than diminishes it. And sometimes the greatest act of self-love is walking away from those who cannot see your worth. As I look back on this journey, I wonder how many of you have faced similar betrayals or difficult endings that ultimately led to new beginnings. Share your stories in the comments below. I would love to hear how you found your way forward. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of survivors and thrivers. Remember, every ending creates space for something new to begin. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you find the strength to write your own next chapter, whatever challenges you may be facing.